Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be continuing to have a look at a scenario where civilization starts over. In the last episode we saw a few different wars around Greece and Poland and Germany and stuff. But in this episode we'll be continuing to have a look at some more wars. But the first thing will be very important and it'll be some expansion over in India. This Indian country is not as rich as the others, so it's going to be expanding further away because, they've at fear of being invaded, but they won't be invaded. So they're just going to expand along this coast, and eventually they're going to start moving over there and building a few ships to, patrol the area. And eventually, a ton of people from this country are actually going to move onto this side of the coast as they believe that it's safer and that they're closer to like Europe or something. They think that that coast is like up over here, maybe. I don't know why they think that, but they do, but they're wrong. Also, these are some hypothetical flags for the countries. I know they're not great quality, but yeah, there's like better looks in them. Oh. So, yeah, I've been doing that. But a group of sailors who are not very satisfied with, whatever's going on over here, their country's a mess. They're going to be sailing away and they get caught in a typhoon and they all die. Unfortunate. But the same thing is going to happen with a different group of people who are going to follow a very, very similar trail, but they're going to keep going until they hit the shore of Myanmar. And this is a massive plot point for my series because, China can be discovered very, very soon. And China is good. So they're going to expand, well, no, they're going to explore more of Myanmar. And this is quite a nice this is quite a nice land. I mean, it's probably a bit boggy over here, but they're going to make it work because they're going to actually make their own civilization. And you may be wondering, oh, if it's only like a few fleets of boats, how is there so many people here? That's because actually a ton of people from this strip of land are coming over here just for a bit of freedom. And yeah, there's a ton of people now over here. They're going to put their capital up here, away from the marshlands of this area. And over here, there's going to be some chaos in India because this group of people over here, they're going to declare their independence away from India as this sort of brown country. And South India, they're not happy about this, so they're actually going to expand across this river and they're going to expand into the brown team. And they start fighting, and this is a very interesting war. It's very back and forth up the river. The brown team does end up, winning their independence, and they're actually going to be expanding around. But now we've kind of entered a time of Asian peace, and whilst everything was happening, like all the wars over in Europe and the Crusades and stuff, this is what has been happening over in Asia. So here we have some mild Asian expansion. We can see that these two Indian countries have expanded a lot. And up here, there has been relatively no expansion. These guys have been heavily economized. So what they've been improving their economy very much. And so much, this pink Indian country is going to expand down and border these other Indian countries. By the way, this Indian country is definitely not very strong. And we're actually going to see them have a split. There is a very big disagreement amongst the southern and northern people, and they're going to split. And the northern people, they're not going to do anything about this. They can't really do anything about this. And these southern tribes, southern Indian people, they're going to expand into Sri Lanka and they're going to take the whole thing. And they're also going to work with some separatists in this country to annex everything up to this river here, including a major city, which these guys aren't very happy about. But again, these guys' militaries are not very good and they're literally just building them up now. Now it's time to go over to the northern coast of Arabia, and there'll be a war breaking out. This war is going to be, oh my god, be between Qatar and this Lime country. They have been beefing recently over who has the best like buildings or whatever, which is completely pointless. And it ended up in these guys making a building very tall, and it fell down, and a ton of people died. And these guys will actually be declaring war on Kuwait, not Kuwait, from Qatar for this reason, and they're going to be moving in, taking a lot of land very fast, until they meet Qatar's forces, who will actually beat them in a battle. They get pushed back, and Qatar will keep marching after the armies, taking the capital city very fast, and this lion country will surrender, and it will be full annexation by Qatar. And yeah, that is a very, very interesting, no, not very interesting, but very quick war. Now we have to go up to Mesopotamia. Recently, Mesopotamia has been very much like beefing with Turkey. They absolutely despise each other. And Mesopotamia is going to, request an alliance with some countries. They're going to make the Pentagon Alliance, or like the Middle Eastern Defensive Pact, between them, Syria, and these two Arabian countries. I don't know what to call them, but these two Arabian countries. And now we have to move over to Europe, especially Greece. In the last episode, we saw Greece absolutely beat up this script alliance or whatever. And Greece is going to continue their rampage by invading a very small and defenseless country. And unfortunately, it is Crete. Crete is a Greek nation, so this is why Greece thinks they own Crete. And Crete can't do anything about it. They're going to cry for help, and Sicily thinks about it only once though, and they never do it again. And unfortunately, their capital city is burnt down to where it's not even a town. And that's a very sad end for for Crete. Now we're going up here to Poland, where we saw a big war last episode. We're going to see a union take place. This union is going to be between Poland and this green country, and that looks really ugly now. So, what color do I make these guys? I think we'll just leave it like that. It still looks really ugly. But Poland is going to be fully annexing these guys, and they're actually also going to be annexing these guys. Create a sort of Polish union, and this raises the concerns of a certain Imperial Germany, who will be declaring war and invading another country. And this country is actually going to be these guys down south. Their troops are going to move in, and yeah, unfortunately, they're not going to win this war against the Imperial Germans. The Imperial Germans are extremely powerful. So, yeah, they kind of get cut in half. They lose a lot of troops. They get pushed back to a river. They lose another major battle. And they get pushed down to their capital city. But then a few countries are going to be joining the war, or the red team will join the war. The red team has hated the Imperial Germans for oh so long, and yeah, they're going to be pushing their troops in, but they get precisely defeated at the capital city, sending their troops way back, retreating into their country. And that's kind of an embarrassment. They entered the war, they lost a battle, retreated, and right. So yeah, the red team's kind of getting slapped around right now. It's not looking too great for them. But then Poland will join the war on the side of the red team. Poland, they also hate the Imperial Germans. But the Imperial Germans did just take out their entire alliance. So they're going to be invading, and they're going to push up to this river before they get stalled. And the red team will actually make a small counter-offensive over here, taking back a town. But we have to go up here to this Prussian country, and Poland is going to be like, don't you dare join the war. And these guys, they definitely could join the war and win. But they're actually going to decide to be neutral on this war for absolutely no reason. Or maybe Poland paid them a bit, but we don't talk about that. And now this country, who has been pushed back to its Alpine territories, is making a major offensive, taking back a city. I don't know why there's no towns over here. That was my mistake, probably. And yeah, they get fully pushed out of the Alpine Mount or Austria, whatever, of the Austrian team. And now they are being invaded from all sides. They're going to lose this land over here. And this is going to be a very sad end for the Imperial Germans. They had a good run. They were born a few episodes ago. They took out a ton of countries and they were quite strong. But today they'll be falling as the red team's going to enter their capital city. And yeah, they're not going to surrender. They're going to die fighting in this town where they have one last battle with the red team, which they lose. But it is a very honourable battle. And let's have a look at the peace treaty. Here's the peace treaty. These guys didn't actually gain any land, which kind of annoys them. But they're going to be forming a union with none other than this lime country, which is very odd, but it kind of works. They're going to be forming a union with that lime country, and I'm going to switch the colour to a lime anyway, because it's too similar to the red team colour. And so now we have a few less countries over here, and we have to go over to the Russian dictatorship. This military dictatorship, yes, they're a military dictatorship, they have some views to expand east, and so they will be expanding east. They will send a ton of people out to explore this, exploring a ton of land very, very fast. And they're going to go along this river and see. And they're going to end up claiming a ton of this unexplored land. And this looks really ugly. So over the next few years, they're going to make this look a bit less horrendous, or I'm going to make this look a bit less horrendous by giving them more land. And Ukraine is very opposed to this. They are going to condemn this, and they're going to be like, you're trying to get one up on us, so we're going to expand. Ukraine is going to expand a ton over here to the Caspian Sea, which is not very liked by Turkey or the Russian dictatorship, who secretly really wanted to get to the Caspian Sea. So let me just update this map. Tensions between these two countries are going to keep rising until it kind of meets the boiling point. And the Russian dictatorship, they're going to go down into Ukraine. Well, there's like a defensive line on the border. They're going to go down to this town and they're going to kill a bunch of people. And Ukraine is not happy about this. So they're going to go up to the Russian dictator and they're going to be like, what the frick are you doing? And they're going to be like, nothing. But eventually, all the Russians get killed there. And these two have just entered a war. And the Square Alliance will go ahead and join the war on the side of Ukraine. And yeah, you've just made a big oopsie, Russia. And Ukraine will begin absolutely annihilating Russia. Everyone in the world at this point, they thought that this would be a very close match. Russia could even possibly win. But turns out Ukraine is a lot stronger than the Russians thought. And there's going to be a massive rebellion in Russia when the Ukrainians, I know they still have like access to this, but usually people just go through there to deliver supplies. But they're actually going to split into two. And just like that, a massive rebellion has just declared independence. And again, the Russian dictatorship can't do anything about this. He's going to try and send his forces, because he is a military dictator, which means that he's quite skilled. But again, he's just getting overrun. And also Ukraine has funding from the foreign power. Eventually, Ukraine will get up to the capital city, where they're actually going to lose a major battle. They're going to lose in this town, sending them back quite a bit. And it's here that the Russian dictator sort of has a bit of more hope. It's going to spark some rebellions behind the front line. But these rebellions never become too major. And both forces in full might are going to face at the city. And yeah, as you can see, Ukraine won. And Ukraine is going to capture the capital just a few months later. No, days, to be honest. And the Russian dictator is going to be executed, which marks the end of this very interesting war. So let's have a look at the peace treaty. As we can see in this peace treaty, the Russian dictatorship has turned blue, and well, that doesn't really mean they're democratic, but Ukraine has installed a sort of democratic, but Ukraine rigged government. So that's kind of makes it the first flawed democracy ever. And this Russian country over here is probably going to be a monarchy, but well, we don't know that. And Ukraine is absolutely massive. And times are good in Ukraine, and the leader would probably want to make this last forever. I know 80s Pro just said that, but I totally thought this originally. Now back down over here to Asia, where we're actually going to see Myanmar expand a ton. Let's go ahead and look at this. This is all the land that they're going to be exploring, and they're going to do something pretty controversial. They're going to claim literally everything. Most of this land they have just laid claim to, but do they actually own this land? No, there's no cities, towns anywhere. But they're going to do something quite smart. They're going to move a ton of people everywhere. But yeah, people live there now, but it's not very stable. So unfortunately, this is going to collapse. This is Myanmar right before their collapse, and I'll go ahead and show the after effects. This is the exact result of the split in Myanmar, and as you can see, a few new countries have been freed, such as a Thailand country, a more South Vietnam or Cambodia, I'm probably going to call it Cambodia country. And we also have Bangladesh being freed. And yeah, as we can see, their top border is still the same, and they're probably not going to expand, but it looks ugly. Of course, I'm going to make them expand just a bit. Myanmar deserves some too. Yay. So after the expansion, we're going to see presumably the Thailandish people go up and expand. Why am I drawing that like I'm trying to draw a border? That is horrible. Yeah, that's better. They're going to expand into South China. And what is there to be found in South China? Well, a lot of valuable land is here. They're going to expand up into this land because, you know, it's free. Why not? They're going to expand all the way up to here. And that is a great amount of land. And they're becoming quite powerful. They're already stronger than Myanmar, Cambodia, and Bangladesh combined. Maybe they might want to become a world power. You don't know that. But yeah, we're gonna see a ton of cities form over here. I'm just updating the city map, like over here as well. These guys are gonna expand in a second if I get the time. Like I said, we have to go over here where there's going to be a ton of expansion. So that is going to be the Asian expansion. And as we can see, this episode has freed up a ton of space over here. And yeah, we have a few new opportunities. So I think this has been a good episode. So yeah, I'll be ending it now. So goodbye everyone, thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.